Hello there, I'm Lloyd Evans. Welcome to Ramacrow. It's time for another voicemail. Today's voicemail is a return caller who still wishes to remain anonymous. Let's listen to what they have to say.
Hi, Lloyd. I just listened to your response to my original voicemail. First of all, like to remain anonymous. You do not have to broadcast this. I'm more just responding to you and wanted to thank you. But if you'd like to, that's totally fine. I am the person that called in previously because talking about being a Jehovah's Witness and giving an alternative perspective. You just responded on your channel, and I wanted to thank you so much for the response and kind of clarify myself because I was a bit sick when I left that, and I think I don't know, just retroactively listening to it, I want to clarify that, absolutely, I completely agree and understand that there are tons of people. I have friends, very close, dear friends of mine, that because of either their sexual identity or the way they were brought up in their households have been very harmed by the teachings of the governing body. So I don't want to minimize that at all or dismiss them in any way. I 100% appreciate that, especially if there's been child sexual abuse or shunning due to any of those things. It's a horrible case, and it has horrible repercussions. I think that anyone who spent time as a Jehovah's Witness has been touched by suicide or really negative repercussions and harm. So I don't want to make it sound like I'm not aware of that. I just come from a perspective and try to I don't know, the way I live my life and kind of try to view things is by thinking, this is going to sound Jehovah's Witnessy, but by thinking positively, not necessarily about the religion, but not focusing on like that anger or whatever, that resentment that you could have, but also just trying to live your life in the best way possible right now. I don't think I think that I have resigned and decided that I will continue to present myself as a Jehovah's Witness socially with my friends and family because it is to be honest, it is out of fear that possibly, I don't want to test the liberalness of some of my friends and family. It's not worth it to me. At this point in my life, am very happy and satisfied, and I acknowledge that that is because nothing traumatic has happened to me, and that's not the case for everyone else. But I do think my kind of overarching point was that religions in general have very stringent and strict rules, and every religion, from Catholic to Protestant to any religion, has laws and rules that are harmful, I would say, but the reality of it is that those rules are followed in different ways, or sometimes not followed at all. And I think that it's important for people, especially people who are coming, maybe have been raised very strict Jehovah's Witness, and now they're kind of seeing that it's not true, or that they don't want to live that way or whatever. They do get very angry, and kind of have this, which is understandable completely, but I think it's important for them to know that, like, hey, not everyone's living that way. Like, not everyone's having that experience, and it's okay not to have that experience, and to kind of like figure out your own way. You don't have to be like one way or the other. I don't know if that makes any sense, but again, thank you so much for your response. I appreciate your kindness. And yeah, again, thank you for what you do, because I do genuinely appreciate all of your videos, and it's very enlightening.
Well, thank you very much indeed for calling back. I do appreciate that, and I'm glad that my comments in response to your last voicemail were received in the spirit in which they were given, namely not as I think I said at the time, biting your head off, but just explaining my perspective on your perspective. If viewers are interested, your original voicemail is covered in voicemail number 157, thumbnail here if Tibor is gracious. So if viewers want to check back on your original comments and my comments to those, you can do so. So it seems the purpose of you calling back is to clarify your position. And I'm very glad to hear your acknowledgement of the trauma, well, let's just put it bluntly, the trauma that many experience as a result of their involvement with Jehovah's Witnesses. And the point I made in the last video is that this trauma is as a direct result of what's coming out of the mouths of the leaders. So irrespective of the fact that there are hypocrites, if we can put it bluntly, in every religion, there are people who are, as you would put it, liberal, or don't take the rules quite so strictly. You know, irrespective of that, we can't base our criticism or our observations about the Jehovah's Witness religion on people who aren't following the religion. We can only really base it on what's coming out of the mouths of the leaders, as evidenced by actual video footage that's being posted to the religion's website, which is what I'm doing on this channel. And I think you understand that point. You are, in your efforts to clarify your position, and you say that you were sick when you left the last voicemail. I hope you're feeling better this time. You say in efforts to clarify your position that you are trying to, quote, think positively, not focusing on anger or resentment. And your message ultimately is that not everyone is living that way meaning with anger or resentment for what's happened to them. I would first of all just kind of state the obvious, which is you're saying this as someone who hasn't experienced, it would seem, that much trauma that would lead to anger or resentment. So I'm sure you can understand how frustrating it would be if you were to go through a traumatic experience and someone who hadn't been through that experience, let's say, you know, your home was ransacked and everything that you cared about was stolen. Or let's go one step further. Your home gets completely destroyed in an earthquake, as has happened in Turkey or Syria. And, you know, one of your friends calls on the phone and says, oh, well, you know, chin up. You know, bad things happen. It's going to be okay. Just stay positive. They've never had their home collapse, and they're approaching you as your friend with a total lack of sensitivity for your personal trauma that you've just experienced. And I'm not saying that you're lacking in sensitivity, because it's clear from some of what you said in this voicemail response that you do have some sensitivity. But I think you would appreciate me being honest with you and letting you know how your words will play in the minds of many who are watching this video. It's all very well saying, hey, let's all just be chill. let's all be happy and positive and not focus on anger or resentment, if you've not been put through what many who watch these videos have been put through. And we're talking shunning, we're talking in some cases child sexual abuse, we're talking all manner of ways in which this particular religion has messed with people's lives. And quite frankly, I'm not convinced. I mean, you say not focusing on anger or resentment. Anger serves a purpose. It's okay to be angry sometimes. I mean, we're not Vulcans, to invoke a Star Trek metaphor. You know, it's not like purging ourselves of all negative emotions is a healthy, desirable thing to strive towards, or else that would be the advice we'd be getting when we go to see psychologists or therapists. They'd be saying, well, you know, you need to purge yourself of all anger and I'm here to help you, you know. That's not what mental health professionals say, at least none that I've met. Anger is a perfectly justified emotion when you've been through a traumatic experience. If you were to not be angry about something terrible that's happened to you, you would be more prone to be subjected to that experience again because you wouldn't be taking action. In other words, anger motivates you to make adjustments so that you're less likely to get into that situation again in the future. If your friend were to anger you by making the phone call that I alluded to earlier, your home's just been leveled and your friend is saying, oh, you know, just chill, just get over it, be positive. You would probably be angry at your friend. You'd be saying, what the hell? You know, that's not what you say to someone whose home's just collapsed. That anger would prompt you to have a conversation with your friend where you would be setting boundaries and you would be saying, you know, your reaction to my distress is not acceptable to me. Your anger towards your friend would inform the relationships you forge in the future because you would be more attuned to the fact that some people are insensitive in that way, and you would be more drawn to people who do have genuine compassion and do extend compassion to you and others. So anger is a very, very useful thing. Don't knock it, you know? I mean, it's okay to say focusing on anger. You know, anything can be taken to an extreme. I personally think that anger needs to be channeled in healthy ways. I think most of us can agree on that. And there's certainly examples of ex-Jehovah's Witnesses who don't channel their anger in healthy ways. But anger in and of itself is not a bad thing. So I guess I reject the premise of saying, well, you need to think positively and that anger is in any way bad. I guess I reject that premise. And I also find it interesting when you said that you will continue to, quote, present as a Jehovah's Witness because you don't want to test the liberalism of the liberal Jehovah's Witnesses that you hang around with, who have led to you having a different experience of the religion than most of the people that you're hearing about on this channel. Doesn't that sort of tell you everything? So even in your little bubble of Jehovah's Witness bliss, where nothing terrible's happened, everyone's just totally chill, no one's taking the religion particularly seriously, even to the point where there is, what was it? There were swingers. In your last voicemail message, you alluded to a subculture of swinging among Jehovah's Witnesses, which is a new one on me. So in your kind of sphere of experience with Jehovah's Witnesses, people have basically been utter hypocrites, or they haven't taken the religion seriously. Even in that sphere of experience, you're still mindful of the fact that if you stop presenting as a Jehovah's Witness, if you in fact say, you know what, I don't want to be a Jehovah's Witness anymore, you could face repercussions. So even in your kind of blissful experience, there's a sinister side. And while I, again, don't want to chew your head off, and I want to see your perspective and understand your perspective as much as possible, and I also very much appreciate your kind of bravery. It takes courage, I think, to call in and leave these voicemails, especially when you know that the things that you're saying might grate with people, might upset people, which I you must know that a lot of what you're saying is going to upset people. It takes courage to do it. And I appreciate you leaving the message. But if I can just be blunt, I think what you're advocating for and what you're indeed practicing in your life is denialism. Oh, I'm just going to pretend everything's fine. I'm going to think positively. And if I think positively, things will be positive. I'm going to deny the fact that I don't believe this religion and present as a Jehovah's Witness, because that way my life will be happier. What you're essentially advocating for, again, if I can just be blunt, is burying your head in the sand. And that might work for you. Living in denial, living a lie, presenting yourself as someone you're not. If that works for you, fantastic. I don't lose a wink of sleep for Jehovah's Witnesses who want to do that. I'm just not interested in changing your mind on that. But I have to express what many viewers to this channel will be thinking, which is, this is someone who doesn't quite get it. This is someone who just wants everyone around, or is suggesting that people who've been through a traumatic experience just think happy thoughts and join her in her denialism. I think that's what many people watching this video will be thinking. And again, kudos to you for having the bravery to present these ideas and to present this perspective so that it can receive scrutiny. I'm hearing your ideas. I appreciate the clarity, you clarifying your ideas. I think I have a good understanding of what your ideas are and what it is that you're advocating for. It's just that I honestly think you're wrong. And I hope, again, I'm not going to lose sleep on this. You just do whatever works for you, quite frankly. But I hope that one day you're able to live your life in a way where you don't have to pussyfoot around, and you can just be honest with all of those around you without there being any ramifications whatsoever, and where you can actually embrace anger and bad things happening to you and channel that anger in a positive, healthy way, because it is possible. You can do it. That's pretty much all I have to say. Maybe there'll be further voicemails, who knows? But if there isn't, or even if there are replies, whatever, regardless of what happens, thank you so much for leaving your voicemail. If you would like to leave a voicemail, the thing to do is go to speakpipe.com/Cedars, remembering to indicate clearly if you don't want me to broadcast your message on this channel. But that's all we have time for. Thank you so much for watching.